All right. Yo, yo, here we go. That's Jack Rizzo in Ohio. I'm RJ Dufresne, and you're watching Red Pill History, where your history teacher most likely sucks. It's been a while since we've been together. We're gonna go off topic a little bit, talk about something that's getting very important in the world today. But before we get started, Jack, what are you up to? What's going on?
Man, it's been wild here in Ohio. Um, I've been actually kind of sick the last few months. I know it's been since I think December since we talked.
Oh, it's COVID. You got COVID?
No, 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 no. Erectile dysfunction. Um,
Oh,
so
well,
I tried this hemp oil. That's trash. That's a laxative. You don't need to know about that. Essential oils. Nah, no good.
eh,
Um, Total T did
periwinkle
it.
doesn't work.
No, no, no. More essential oil didn't work. Libido Max, Walmart, no good. Oh, cough syrup, that doesn't help. Thermo something, another, whatever. Horny goat weed,
Yeah,
horny,
horny goat weed.
nothing. So
No good.
the struggle is real, man. The struggle is real.
Man, you looks like you've tried everything then.
I have.
Have
So
you tried the penis mightier?
I'll take that for 400, Alex. Oh, and I've tried such products, and whatever you got, I need to know. You're on a gold mine. You don't need
I just need to know if it works.
to know if it works. Um, so what you been up to, RJ?
Well, I've been traveling. I sold my business, left North Carolina about 3 months ago, and I just been driving around the country. I'm here in the beautiful Black Hills of South Dakota,
Uh,
not too far from Mount Rushmore here in Rapid City. It's just a great little 57 degrees, and just having a great time.
Man, it's nice. And the thing is that ties directly into what we're wanting to talk about because you're only able to do that because you you're able to financially afford to be able to do it. You get just it's not like you're bumming off of everybody. So
No, I mean it takes, as you well know, time and money to do stuff like this. And not that I'm not wealthy or super rich or anything. I don't have fu money yet. Uh, but it's a if you don't have much to give throughout the month, not much is needed. So I'm kind of in that situation, with no house, no debt, really, other than a cell phone bill and putting gas in the tank and eating. There's really not much going on.
that's beautiful, man. I mean, that's the goal right there. Good Lord.
Yeah, yeah. And then I got this little pop-up camper that I'm borrowing. So
Yeah. Well, if you don't
that's
tell
where,
me,
that's where I'm at right now, just sitting at this table and I got the bed behind me. I know it's hard to see because it's getting kind of, sun's coming down a little bit here in western South Dakota, but I should do a tour one time with my little rig here. It's pretty cool.
you should. You should. I think everybody. I know I've seen it. It's fascinating what you've done there. So it's just wild. And again, man, that's living the dream right there. Off the grid, basically. If you don't tell anybody
Yeah,
where you could just disappear.
I
So
mean, I basically turned just now, just turned on a forest road to some public land, some Bureau of Land Management properties, and I just drive up this road to see what's here, and I just parked in the middle of the woods, just just to see if I had signal too. So I got the best of both worlds, and it's
yeah.
free.
The thing is, the way the world's going right now, the way you're living is going to be a lot of people's ultimate dream because to be able to get away from the oppressiveness of the state, to be able to get away from everybody trying to control you, to be able to separate yourself from society, just enough to where you can still stay sane. That's incredible.
Right. And yeah, and that's kind of what I've been thinking. Well, we can go a little bit into that while we're talking. It kind of interlocks and relates to everything, but just kind of laying low for a couple years, just seeing what's going to happen. Because at this point, who knows what's going to happen? There's a lot of stuff going on in the world, and from where I'm sitting right now, from what I understand, I mean, in the next 10 years from now, we might be in a totally different world.
Oh, it's not going to be recognizable. It's
No.
insane. Right now, you've got the government printing they're printing trillions of dollars every year, obviously, but then
Right.
they're doing things like they're trying to pass a $5 trillion budget deal, which is insane. Um, the banks used to have a reign on them because there was only so much money that they could overspend, and what they had to do was they had to basically go to the Federal Reserve, and at the end of the day, if they didn't have enough money to meet their obligations, they would essentially borrow money from the Federal Reserve for one day to be able to meet that obligation. And then they'd have to pay it back the next day. Well, now the Fed has basically taken the reins off that and said, you guys can have unlimited money anytime you want for any extended period of time at 0% interest. So it's just free money. And
Yeah.
what
It's free money, and right, and it causes inflation. It causes the dollar to drop. Um, oh,
what in the heck?
that was my flashlight here.
Oh,
That kind of fell down a little bit. I was too excited. But anyway, I mean, we should basically just start. We should have started what we were going to talk about at the beginning of this video is cryptocurrencies and Bitcoin. And we're going to go at it like this, guys. Uh, Jack over there is just like everybody else, has probably heard the word Bitcoin, know about cryptocurrencies, heard about it probably for a few years. But it takes about 7 or 8 times for people to hear something to say, all right, I need to figure out what's going on and what really is happening here. And that's where Jack's at right now. And that's fine. Believe it or not, he's still early, in my opinion. Um, I'm coming at it for over 2.5 years of complete study. One day in June of 2019, I finally got enough of it in my ear where I said, I'm just going to watch a YouTube video. And I was fortunate enough for my job, I could just put on earphones and work and just eat this stuff up. So I have about 2 years of constant knowledge when it comes to cryptocurrencies and Bitcoin and where the money is going in the next few years, at least in my opinion. I'm by no means a top expert, and there's guys out there that, if you know anything about crypto, there's a guy called Andreas Antonopoulos, and he talks above my head. I still don't even know what he's still talking about. So there are people out there that are way more knowledgeable, but I personally believe I'm probably the top. I'm probably the 0.5% that knows what's going on. And even Jack over here, just trying to put his feet into the water, he's still 20% ahead of most of this world, and that's an important thing to understand. Is that, and we'll get into this more. What we're going to do is Jack's going to basically ask questions from a beginner's type aspect, and I'm going to try to answer them as much as I can, and I hope you guys get a little bit out of this.
yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I think a lot of people are where I am right now. They hear about crypto from just, you hear it from the peripheral all the time, but not a whole lot of people actually know what it's all about. For me, for example, I got into crypto. I got interested in it because I listened to another podcast from Scott Adams. He's the guy who does Dilbert, but he's got a great podcast. If you guys ever get a chance to listen to it, and he was talking about he had a windfall with Ethereum, and it was literally hundreds of thousands of dollars that he didn't even know he had because he had invested $500 or so in Ethereum, years ago. And I thought, well, I mean, if he can do that and he's literally not paying any attention to it, this is something serious. I really need to look at what's going on with it. That was my aha moment. What was your moment, RJ, where you said, I mean, this is it, because you said you listened to some YouTube videos on it, but what was the moment where you said, okay, this is going to be it?
Well, the first time I ever heard about Bitcoin was at a poker table at my house. And this was in 2017 when the last bull run happened, when it was starting to approach $20,000. And people were just talking about it. And in my brain at that time, as you know me very well, I'm not much into like science fiction and make believe and Dungeons and Dragons. All of that was just internet money, just play, just something that nerds get into. And I just kind of put on the side. But did I hear about it? Did I understand it? Were people talking about it? Were people making fun of it? Were people serious about it? Sure. And that happened over probably a couple years. Every once in a while, someone would say something. And like I said, at some point, I can't remember what it was, but I remember it was in June of 2019 where all of a sudden I just like I think it came up on my YouTube recommendation list, if I could be perfectly honest. And I'm just like, all right, let me find out what this is about. I need to know. And ever since then, I went down the rabbit hole of rabbit holes, 3-4 hours a day constantly trying to figure it out. And by the end of that month, I was putting money into crypto assets. So I can't remember the aha moment, but basically it went from I don't know nothing to I was so interested in this stuff that I just and still today, the first thing I do when I wake up in the morning is I listen to a guy named the Modern Investor. His video is ready to go, and I just listen to it every day among many others, and we'll get into that as well. But again, it's if you want to understand anything, and not even just cryptocurrency, just anything, you have to put some effort into it. You have to educate yourself, and that's yourself. You have to put the effort into it. And as we've talked about many times, the majority of the people in this world are lazy, and they just don't want to. They're too wrapped up into what the Kardashians are doing, what their fantasy football team's doing, what there's some important things. I mean, yeah, there's politics, there's your kid's soccer practice, there's your wife nagging you all the time. There's a lot of things going on that you really have to worry about. But on our spare time, we still, I think, worry about some stupid stuff. But it takes effort to understand money. In the history of money as well. It takes some effort to understand where it comes from, why it's here, why America is the world reserve currency. This is a lot to delve into, and I heard somebody say you need to put in about 2,000 hours of research to fully get a big grasp on what cryptocurrencies and Bitcoin mean today and what mean in the future.
Okay. Well, to that point, I know one of the things that slowed me down in investing is I could not wrap my head around even what it was. I understood that it was digital currency, but can you go into a little bit of the history? I mean, I know a little bit of the history of it, but can you go into the history and what crypto actually is in general, not obviously individual cryptocurrencies?
Right. There's a couple video clips I want to talk about. The first one is it's on YouTube. Any of these are on YouTube. Can you see me, by the way? Am I completely dark?
I can see the bottom of your shirt and the white letter. That's about it. There you go.
Like that's gonna suck too, but it's better than nothing, I guess. I got lights above here, but God, this is so dumb. It's gonna cover up the thing.
You look like your wilderness guy.
Normal. Here we go.
Oh, that's a little bit better.
A little bit better. You
Yeah,
just can't see my face, but
that's usually a benefit for me.
yeah. So there's a video on YouTube back in the early 90s, probably 93, 94, and I think it was Good Morning America or something like that. It was Katie Couric and Brian Gumbel, I think is who it was. And they did a piece and they talked about if you want to send, at the end of this piece, you want to send an email, send it to NBC at IO. It was like a long, back in the day, it was a long address to send an email.
Right.
And they cut to Katie Couric and Brian Gumbel like, what? And they just sat there and said, what's the internet? What is email? Like, they don't, and this wasn't that long ago, guys.
Oh,
And to say that now is just dumb, right?
yeah.
Because what internet is our life at this point. It's the way of the world. If the internet went out right now, it would blow up the world, basically. It would destroy it in a lot of ways. It's that serious. So I think we're at that time right now where people are like, oh, I think it's a little bit further than that. They heard of it, but they really don't understand it. Milton Friedman also had a video out late 90s, and they talked about how everything pretty much is solved except for decentralized money. Let's think about this. I can send you an email right now, and it'll get to you instantaneously. It won't go through a third party. It goes to you immediately. It doesn't matter if you're in Cleveland and I'm in South Dakota, or if you're in Tokyo and I'm in Buenos Aires. You're going to get that email. Now, if I were to send you, let's say, $10,000 and you were overseas and it was a Friday night, when would you get that money?
I would assume, well, you would hope instantly with everything being the banks being digital now, but you're probably talking about 3 or 4 days minimum.
Right.
Because banks have to be open, and then you have to go through processing, and we all know how much of a hassle it is getting a refund from a credit card, where it takes them 2 seconds to take it out of your account, but it takes them a week to put it back in. So probably 3 or 4 days minimum.
Yeah. So who is we? Why? Who is taking it that long for it to get in your pocket?
Right. It's the bureaucracy within the banking system,
The
within
banking system. That's
within,
that's
within the
exactly right.
right.
The banking system we have in this, especially in this country, is, I mean, we're basically living in the 40s. Okay, it's just it's archaic. It's not even 20 years old. It is a old system, and it's the reason why it's old because there's a lot of money and power in banking, in central banks, in regular banks. And they want to keep that power. So for a very long time, there have been very smart people trying to figure out how to decentralize money. Okay, to make it peer to peer. I send it to you, you send it to me. Nobody knows about it. You can be basically your own bank. Okay. Now it took years to figure out how to do that because, and like I said, they've been trying to do this since the 90s. Finally, in 2008, a mysterious figure called Satoshi Nakamoto basically put out a white paper, and they called it Bitcoin. It was a decentralized peer-to-peer monetary system. And Satoshi we don't know who he is. We don't know if it's a she. We don't know if it's a group of people. And the beauty of it is we won't ever know. The beauty of Bitcoin is that there's no centralized building. There's no CEO. There is no president. It is money that's run by a computer, not by the Fed, not by the IMF, not by bureaucracies by whoever's in power. It is basically run by a computer, which is called the blockchain. And the Bitcoin blockchain is the most secure network in the entire world. It's never been hacked. And the more you mine, I mean, we're getting deep in here, but basically, the more you mine it, the more secure the network becomes. So basically, in 2008, this monetary system came out, and really the only people that knew about it were called, I think they're called cyberpunks. They're very nerdy MIT type guys that have been trying to figure this out. And then once the white paper came out, a lot of these people got on board and said, yes, this is going to work. Because I think there was something years before called eCash that tried to come out, and there was reasons why it didn't work. But I believe in 100 years, Bitcoin's going to be the number one invention probably ever to not only get us away from banks, but to bank the unbanked. There's people, I think it's 85% of people in Africa don't have a bank. It's easy for us in North America we get $200, we open a bank account. They can't do that in other parts of the world. There's more people in Africa that have a cell phone than have a bank account. These people now with cryptocurrencies and Bitcoin can be their own bank and have their own money that can be transferred all over the world, that's separate from the U.S. dollar or the Chinese yuan or the Russian ruble or the Mexican peso. It's all separate. I can send you Bitcoin to anybody else, and it's one. It's fungible. Is what it is. One right. Bitcoin is in Africa. Is one Bitcoin in North Carolina.
So, because I know when they started Bitcoin, I know that it was started on what they call the dark web, and I know they were trying to. The people that were on the dark web. This goes into why it's unhackable. Is that the people that were really deep into the dark web, the nerdy folks like you were talking about, they are the guys who, if you could hack something, they're the ones that could do it. So if they design something to be unbreakable, it's going to be unbreakable for them. And of course the rules of Bitcoin where they're not making any more. There's only a certain amount of them. It's not run by a person, it's run by an algorithm. Things like that make it very stable, as opposed to the world economy where if you've got $100 right now and then the federal government decides to print $5 trillion all at once, your $100 becomes about $20. It'll still say $100, but spending wise, it's not worth nearly as much. With Bitcoin, there's what, like 13 million of them out there or something like that, and that's all there's ever going to be. So
right, the beauty of it, and it's part of the white paper, part of Satoshi's vision, is that there's just the number's 21 million. There'll only be 21 million Bitcoin ever printed out. So you can't just print new Bitcoin, which makes it what? It makes it deflationary. That means right. The longer it goes, the more and more people want it, the more valuable that is. Okay.
It's essentially like being on the gold standard, except for even better, because you can go and you can find more gold, but you can't go and find more Bitcoin than there's been manufactured.
Right. So. And gold, be honest with you, lasts 5,000 years. It's a very good form of money, form of value. But you never know. Someone could go into a mountain and find thousands of tons of gold. They've been talking about mining asteroids for years now. But Bitcoin, there's only 21 million, and to be honest with you, only 18 million has only been mined, and they say about 4 million has been lost and gone forever. So wow. Technically, there's only about 12 to 13 million out there right now, and the last Bitcoin to ever be mined will be long before both of us are alive. It's 2040 or 2140 is when the last Bitcoin will be mined.
Wow.
And so I mean, yeah, that's another aspect of why Bitcoin is strong. It's a 4-year cycle. So at the beginning, you could mine a lot, but every 4-year cycle, that mining capacity cuts in half. Right now, there's 900 Bitcoin a day that can be mined. In 20 before May of 2020, it was 1,800 Bitcoin a day. So when the halving happened, which is a big event in Bitcoin, there's only been 3 of them. It cuts it in half. Now only 900 can be mined. So if there was 1,800 before and not only 900 now, does that make it less valuable or more valuable?
Makes it more valuable.
Makes it more valuable because there's less of it. So in 2024, they're going to cut the 900 in half, and only 450 will be mined a day.
Okay. So, kind of, what do you mean by mining?
Well, mining is basically printing. Okay, there are people set out around the world that mine Bitcoin with computers. It's a math problem figured out by a big computer, and whoever figures out the problem, again, like I said, there's 900 a day, receives the reward of Bitcoin. Okay, which again strengthens the blockchain. Now, if you're going to ask me how that works, you're going to have to you have to go to the MIT guys. I can give you the gist of it, but mining is done by a computer problem solved, and adds on to another. Just think of blockchain as a link, and every time there's a link, it gets stronger, does it not?
Right.
Even if you get rope or straws or anything, the more you entangle it, the stronger and more versatile it is.
Right.
So that's basically what mining is in a nutshell. Now, it would have been great 12 years ago if we were super nerds and we had we could basically mine from our laptop and just be making lots of Bitcoin. Nowadays, it takes big, strong, massive computers in order to do that. But just think of it as printing, okay? Like if the U.S. government said we're only going to print $21 trillion and that's it forever,
Right.
okay, that dollar becomes valuable no matter what.
And it would continue to become more valuable as the years went on.
Yes. And imagine they started off printing 10 trillion at once. And then every year they cut that in half.
Right.
You're still not at the end goal is 21 trillion, but it takes a long time for it to get there. Okay. That makes that dollar valuable. This is what Bitcoin, it's basically digital gold. Is what Bitcoin is.
And in fairness, I think that was the original idea of the Federal Reserve is we're going to only have so because they would bring dollars in and trade them out for a few dollars and then destroy the old dollars. So they had the right idea. It's just when they decided they could just print money, when they got off the gold standard, they decided they could just print money and have a fiat currency, then all the rules of economics went out the window with that. Then you have inflation and hyperinflation and things like that.
Right.
So,
And just being able to hit a button and print money. Now that everything's digital, are they really printing the cash, or are they just going to the computer and adding zeros and
now,
stick it in the bank accounts?
right now it's all digital. They're not even going through the process of printing out the cash because they can't print out. You can't print it fast enough to keep up with spending.
Right.
And
So when you get $1,200, are you really getting $1,200 in cash, or they're just hitting buttons, sending it to you?
yeah, I mean
That's
that could
basically
be
what they're doing.
12 million into your account just as easy as they did 1,200. It's just a matter of hitting a couple buttons, But then if everybody gets $12 million, it has zero value. All of
Right.
a sudden, candy bar is going to cost you 100. Literally, it's $100,000 bar. So
Well, I mean, it's been happening in other countries. Venezuela is one of them. We don't have to go very far, very long to understand that, hyperinflation is possible. It's happened in
right.
Greece.
Mm-hmm.
It's happened where they just they call it a bank holiday, and you can't get money out of your bank. And then after that, well, you can get out a certain amount, but we took out half. Money's not yours in the bank. I have like $1,000 in the bank, maybe two. Other than that, I got it. I got cash. I got it stuck somewhere, because if they can put money into your account instantly, they can take it out of your account instantly.
And ask anybody who's had their account seized by the IRS. They will take it out of your account. They don't have any qualms about that.
Right. They will take it out. And this is, again, what something like cryptocurrency solves, is to keep your wealth as much as possible. And it's a inflationary hedge against the dollar.
Right. I consider it, the way I'm looking at it right now, again, just getting into it, is I'm looking at it as an aspect of my portfolio. If I own stocks and I own bonds and I own some commodities and I own some precious metals, now I need to own crypto just like any one of those other facets of the market. But the advantage of crypto is it's in the same line to me as the precious metals, where you're very unlikely for it to ever go down in value or go down to zero, because it has intrinsic value.
Right. It's very similar to that. The only difference is that crypto at the moment is can be very volatile, and that's a good thing. And that's why we're early, because you can get something now and then it will increase. Like if you get gold at, what is it, 2,200 an ounce or something like that, in 10 years, hoping that it's 2,800 an ounce. I mean, that's great. That's nothing wrong with that, but you got to think of crypto as an emerging technology that very few people, they might know about it, they might have heard it, but they don't fully understand it. We are in the internet 1997 right now, in my opinion. We are buying real estate in Manhattan in 1830 right now. I'm serious. It's a long-term play, and in 10 years, like I said, we're not going to recognize the place. Bitcoin it will probably, in my estimation, by 2030 be over $1 million. And the higher it goes, the less volatile it will get, because right now you can find some big whale that will sell, $300 million in Bitcoin. It drops 1% just on that one sale, and then he buys back in.
Right.
When it's $100 trillion market cap, if some idiot wants to sell $100 million, that does nothing to it. Basically, it does nothing to the price. Eventually, it will level out and become more stable, and that's when it'd be great if the U.S. dollar and all this other stuff were backed by something like Bitcoin, like gold, like we were on gold standard.
Right. It actually gives some value. Instead of it being a fiat currency, it actually has a value behind it, which is why if you find a dollar that's a silver certificate, it actually has value because it's backed by silver, and you can trade that dollar in for $2.50 or $3 or whatever it is right now. So this has got my mind just spinning here. Which that doesn't happen to me too often.
No, this is good. This is good. It's very good.
This is a fascinating subject to me, and it's one that me. Whenever I get into a subject, I tend to pitbull the thing and just bite down and not let go and go down every little rabbit hole. So I'm going to try to not get into the weeds too much with my questions, because that'll be real easy for me. But I'm going to eventually, our private conversations, I'm going to have a lot of detailed questions. One thing that I am curious about, and I'm trying to think of how to word this. Yeah, I can't even think of. Sorry, man, you got me all. You don't have me confused. You got me excited.
Right.
um,
Yeah.
when 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 you say, when we're investing in Bitcoin, what's the mechanism for that? Because I know if I want to buy stocks, I either have to download an app and I can buy stocks on the market directly, or I have to go through a broker and I have to buy stocks through a broker. And even if you have an app, you have a stand-in broker essentially with the app that you're buying from. How do you actually buy Bitcoin, or any crypto, I should say? What is
Right.
is there a best way to buy it, or is there a lot of different really good avenues for buying it?
Yeah, there's a few good ones now, and I'm going to take you a little history lesson. Like I said before, the most people at the beginning for the first 3 or 4 years, the people that had the most Bitcoin mined it. They printed it basically and they kept it. Uh, but not that long ago, like 2014, 2015, if you wanted to buy Bitcoin, there was a place called a company called Mount Gox, and it was
Okay.
based in Japan. And you
Mhm.
basically sent a check to Japan, and which would take 2 or 3 weeks, and basically you would buy Bitcoin, and they would send it either on a ledger, or they give you the long little code that you can then put on your computer or ledger, and you would have it, but that would take 2 or 3 weeks.
Right.
This shows you how much we've evolved. There, you can go. Let's talk about apps. There's an app called Coinbase, which is
Okay.
probably the most popular, and I think
That's the.
that's where you bought yours from.
Mhm.
That makes it easier to just link your bank account, hit buy, how much you want to buy, and you have it in your Coinbase account. Now there's
Right.
other exchanges. There's KuCoin. There's it's all escaping me right now, but I probably have 4 or 5 different exchanges that I've crypto.com is one of them.
Mhm.
Kraken is one of them. I bought some from Kraken. Binance is one of them. There's so many different avenues for you to buy these Bitcoin, or any cryptos really. Now, not every exchange has every coin. There's a
Right.
lot of crappy coins out there too,
Right.
but typically that's how I buy. And now Coinbase makes it so easy. Now Coinbase is going to nickel and dime you with fees, but you're
Yeah.
gonna get the value of convenience. It makes it easy. It's almost like a Robinhood app. A lot of these
Mhm.
other exchanges are pretty difficult. Coinbase just makes it. You just put on an app and hit buy. Now you're gonna pay
Right.
more fees for it, but it just simplifies it a lot. So
Well, the thing I liked best about Coinbase is, yeah, they do charge a fee whenever you purchase with cash. They charge, if you buy $10 worth of whatever crypto you're buying, they're going to charge you $1. If you buy $20, it's $1.50. So the more you buy, the smaller percentage the fee is. But at the same time, they have things on their app where you can learn about other cryptos, and they'll actually give you free crypto. So on balance, it evens out. And that's what I looked at. Yeah, I'm paying a fee for this, but they're also giving me $3 or $5 or $10 in free crypto
right.
on these. And so I'm getting that money back. I'm not really losing. If you look at my portfolio, I'm not losing anything.
Is
Uh,
that how you got some graph by
that
free
that's
graph?
how
Yeah,
I
yeah, I
got
got
graph.
free graph as well. It was like $4 or whatever. Like I can't remember, but
Yeah.
um,
So
yeah,
I
that's
love.
one way to get into it. And then now you're like, well, shoot, I'm invested into it. I need to find out more about it. And the other thing about Coinbase is you can set up a recurring investment. Like you can set up where like Friday at 2 o'clock, $100 goes here,
Mhm.
and you don't even think about it.
Yeah.
So so to think about that now to where it was 5 years ago is night and day. And it's going to get even better when when in 5 years from now, as far as once it becomes more and more adopted.
Right. So what I'm getting the feel of, and this was one thing that I hate to say this, is the one thing that made me really hesitant to get into crypto. Was I'm like, what? crap, Bitcoin, it just passed $51,000 a coin. I think yesterday or the day before that. Of course, it dipped back down, but it'll be right back up. And so I'm looking at that. I'm like, well, crap, I can't. I obviously can't invest that much. I can invest a little bit, and that's of course the way it works. You don't have to buy an entire coin.
Right.
But I looked at it as, well, I've missed the boat. I've missed this great opportunity. But the way you're describing it is, it literally like we're just barely. It's like if you said, oh, America Online is set. I guess there's nothing new to do on the internet now since everybody's got America Online.
Right. You're
So
right. You're 100% right.
it felt like before I got into it, and honestly before you and I talked about it, it felt like, okay, I'm doing this, but I've really missed a boat. But I want to invest in it just to protect some of my assets. But now you've got me feeling like there's still this huge wave that's going to be coming up. There's still a great buying opportunity across
Right.
the board. We're not
It
just
is.
talking Bitcoin, but across the board.
You're right, and you're right, because everybody thinks of the now and they look at the past and they're like, well, I should have. There's a famous tweet from like 2011 or 2010 where this guy says, "Oh man, I wish I would have kept my Bitcoin. I sold it at $2 and now it's 8. Oh well, I missed the boat." $8. No, no. I'm serious. Take this for what. It was $8, and this guy thought he missed the boat.
Yeah.
He thought it was gone. There was Bitcoin will never hit $10. You can go on internet and find that Bitcoin will never hit $100. Imagine you. So now you're looking at the Bitcoin price now at 50 grand, and you look at it back at 100 and said, "Man, I wish I would have bought it at 100." But when you were back then at $100, you're like, "Well, that's a little bit too much for me. It'll probably never go any higher than that." So
Right.
there is so much adoption happening right now. There are so many companies that are invested in Bitcoin. I'm talking about big companies like Mass Mutual, Fidelity. There's now El Salvador is making it a Bitcoin a legal tender now. It's the first country ever to make Bitcoin. This is stuff right now that's happening that you would have thought people would have thought you were crazy 2 years ago thinking this stuff would happen. And it's still not mainstream. I read a statistic today where 18 to 35-year-olds, like 60% are really into cryptocurrency. 35 to 60-year-olds, I think it's more like 22% are interested. Anything beyond that, like 60 and older, 5%.
Yeah.
5%. So there's still so much, and that's just the United States.
Mm-hmm.
This is not a United States thing. This is not a Western world thing. There's 8 billion people, 9 billion people on the planet. It's still, I think, only 1% of the people in the world have cryptocurrencies or actually own it.
Wow. Wow. I know.
The,
I talked to my 80-year-old mother-in-law just yesterday about crypto, because we were talking about her investments, and I was telling her about crypto, and she knew what it was, but she didn't know anything beyond, yeah, I've heard the term before. And by the time she and I got finished with the conversation, she was excited about it. Now, she's not going to go dump her portfolio and put it all in crypto, but older people can get excited about this stuff too. But you're right. She had heard the word, but that was as far as she had gone, and she's a pretty serious investor. So there's a huge number of people out there that aren't involved in it that could potentially become involved in it.
right. And again, you're a smart guy. It still takes a lot to wrap your head around it. It's not physical. You don't have it in your hands. And that takes a lot for somebody that's 60, 70 years old. I mean, my grandparents knew what an answering machine was.
Mm-hmm.
But hell's bells, even when we set up for them, they didn't want to use it because it's a new. And listen, when we're 70, 80 years old and something new comes out, we're going to be the same. That's great. You kids have fun. But
I want my sex bots to look like sex bots. I don't want them to look like dragons and stuff.
aliens.
Yeah.
But these kids growing up today, and we're not kids anymore. These generation Z's and all this stuff, their whole life has been virtual. They
Hmm.
understand Bitcoin. They understand cryptocurrency. They understand virtual money. To where with us, we have to wrap our brains around it, because all we're used to is like, I don't know if about you, but when I was a kid, man, I found a quarter. Holy
Oh,
shit!
oh man,
On
that
the
made my
on the ground, you told everybody in your neighborhood you had a
ex-
quarter,
exactly.
and it was in your hand, and it was yours.
Yeah. And if it wasn't, it took me a long time to trust banks because I'm like, I have the money in my hand. Why would I give it to this other person to
Right,
hold on? I have it right here. I don't need to put it anywhere to spend it. I've got it, And so there's that aspect of it too, where because it's not, you can't hold a Bitcoin in your hand. You can't say, look, I'll show you my Bitcoin right now. You can't do that. Now, I mean, if back in the day when they would send you a ledger report, then you might have something on paper that says I had, but it's still not the Bitcoin. That's just proof that you have it.
right,
So it's still, yeah, it's still a thing where it's probably the most difficult thing to wrap my brain around is that I'm investing in this thing and it's increasing in value, so it's a good investment, but what is it really? Because I can't touch it. I can't hold it in my hand. I can't, I just it's basically it's almost like walking on faith. You just have to know that this has intrinsic value. And just like anything else, the only reason gold has intrinsic value is because we've all decided it has intrinsic value.
right.
You know,
It's
and we've
it's
all
what you're willing to pay for it, and
right.
what you're willing
So
to sell it for. That's all it is.
right. So if
The price of anything is what people are willing to sell it and buy it for.
right. So
It's an agreement.
if we all agree that Bitcoin's worth $50,000 a coin, it's worth $50,000 a coin, whether you can hold it or not. If we
Right,
agree that the price jumps to 100,000, it's worth 100,000, whether you can hold it or not. So
hmm
that's that's for somebody who's a concrete thinker, it's a little bit harder to grasp. But I'm hoping that the world will grasp it before it's too late, because I really do think that cryptocurrency is going to be the thing that saves the world from a financial aspect, from us just devolving into chaos where everything is hyperinflation and you can't really own anything because nobody has enough money to buy anything except for
right.
large corporations and stuff. So
Yeah. I mean, and we're living in if you look at the history of world reserve currencies, the average world reserve currency is 80 to 90 years. Well, guess
mhm.
what? The Bretton Woods Agreement is about 80 some years old.
Yep.
The Chinese are hell bent to making their yuan the world reserve currency, and don't
Mhm.
make a mistake about it. They would love for it to be that way. Now we
Oh
would
yeah.
hate that, but
Yeah.
they would love it. And so Bitcoin has come around at a time where I believe that in 10, 15 years, it will become the world reserve currency, where every other currency is backed by Bitcoin.
Now,
Not that
now,
you could spend it exactly. I mean, you could spend right now. You can buy anything with Bitcoin, and that's another misconception. People don't think you can. Yes, you can. But again, would you rather? Would you? It's a old. They've been talking about this for years. You rather spend bad money than good money.
mhm.
Okay, it's like you have $10,000 in U.S. dollars and you have $10,000 in Bitcoin, and you want to buy a car. Which one would you spend to buy that
I'm
car?
I'm spending the cash every single time because that cash is only going to go down in value. That Bitcoin
Yes,
is either going to maintain its value or it's going to increase in value.
right. It's like you've heard of the Pizza Boy, right? The Bitcoin Pizza Day, where the guy
No,
spent.
I have.
Oh, it's in April or something like that, or February. I can't remember. But one of the very first early on transactions was a guy online to the Bitcoin community said, "Hey, look, I really don't have any money. I'm willing to give up 10,000 Bitcoin for two. Does
Oh my God.
anybody want to do that? Some guy said, yeah, I'll take it. So the guy gave him 10,000, and the guy called Papa John's and sent him two pizzas.
Oh my dear God.
Now, the pizzas are probably $20.
Mm-hmm.
What's 10,000 Bitcoin at 50,000 a piece?
Hold on, let me do the math real quick. You got, what's that, 50 million?
I think it's
Something.
500.
It might be 500 million. 10,000. So that's,
Let me look real quick. So it's 50,000
yeah,
times 10,000.
that's 500 million.
A $500 million for two Papa John's pizzas that cost $20
They're
12
good,
years ago.
good pizza, but it ain't that good. So
Yeah,
I
you
know,
spend bad money. That's another beauty of Bitcoin. Now that people understand it, you will spend the bad money, the $20, before the
right,
good money, the 10,000 Bitcoin. So what people do is they hold on to their Bitcoin, which makes the value of Bitcoin do what?
makes it go up.
Go up, because they're holding on to it, which makes it harder. It makes it harder to get, more
Yeah, yeah.
valuable to get.
Not gonna have. You're not. If you came to me and you said, "Hey, can I borrow $200?" and I had $200 in Bitcoin, there's no way I'm going to cash out my Bitcoin to give you $200. I might go scrounge some cash, but I'm not going to give you $200 in Bitcoin. Just not. You know. I mean, I
Not
love
not
you.
if you're thinking not if you're thinking long term. Now, if you think for some reason he thinks the price is going to drop or whatever, and then next week you're going to buy back in,
Right.
yeah, I mean I guess. But if you're going to do that long term, like the pizza guy did, I mean he gave up 10,000 Bitcoin, 10,000.
It's nuts. It's like this. I think I shared it on Facebook at one point. They had a video game tournament, and the top prizes was the first prize was like $1,000, and then the second prize was 500. Third prize was 100 or $25. No, $100, and the fourth place prize was 25 Bitcoin, which was valued probably at $1 back then or something like
Right,
that.
right. Yeah, now 25 Bitcoin's $1 million, I think.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, mm,
Yeah, I
it's,
mean, even like these sports stars are saying they want their contracts in Bitcoin. The very first stimulus check that came out, there's a website that shows you how much you made if you put that 1,200 into Bitcoin. I think it's almost $12,000 now.
wow.
If you were to just, instead of spend it on sneakers and a stupid TV, you would just put it on, bought Bitcoin. You would have made probably 10 times as much.
Yeah.
You know, on your PayPal app. I don't know if you have PayPal, but you can buy Bitcoin on PayPal now. This is stuff right now that's becoming mainstream that we didn't have more than a year ago, much less 2 years ago. When even when I started, it seems like the dark ages when Bitcoin was $7,000 and Cardano was 13 cents and you know Ethereum was $200. That seems
Right.
like a long time ago. But again, it's still early. If you look at the long term, and I'm just talking like 10 to 12 years. I'm not talking about 50 years. Don't even get me on that. But 10 to 12 years, long term, is just. I think the world's going to change in probably a good way. Now, there's going to be a lot of ups and downs. There's going to be a lot of fear mongering.
Right.
There's going to be a point where you're going to be like, I don't know if I should probably sell it. There's going to be a lot of that in the next 10 years, and it's going to be kind of scary. But but there's also a website called When Bitcoin Died or something like that, and it shows you every article that was written in the last 10 years that said Bitcoin's going to die. And here it is at $50,000, and probably will be $100,000 by Christmas, is my guess.
Wow.
Before we go back down again.
Wow. Oh man, that's I mean that's both scary and I mean it's an incredible opportunity. What would you recommend? Because we've mainly been talking about Bitcoin, but of course there's probably hundreds, if not thousands, of other cryptos out there, and they all kind of have the same format. I think I don't think that they're doing recurring printing of, say, Solana or something like that. Once they set a number, that's like one of the rules of crypto, is that whatever number you set at, that's going to be it. That's all that you're allowed to do. Um, so is there any method to figuring out which ones to invest in, other than, I mean, I would always say, because Bitcoin is so well known and so well established, that if you're in crypto, my mindset is you should always have Bitcoin. Just like if you're in commodities, or if you're in, precious metals, you should always have gold. If you're in stocks and bonds, you should always have some blue chip stocks. Are there any that are, other than Bitcoin, that you look at that are like, hey, this is also a really good one to look at?
Right. I think I'm gonna correct you a little bit. Uh, every the majority of coins serve a different purpose. Bitcoin and Litecoin are kind of the same. Litecoin's not going to gain traction probably. Bitcoin's always going to, as far as store of value, Bitcoin's probably always going to be number one. Let's look at something like Cardano or Dogecoin. There is no amount that they right at this, as we speak right now, you can print as many as you want. They serve a different purpose. Like Ethereum, think of Bitcoin as gold. Think of Ethereum as Internet 2.0. Think
Okay.
of something like Chainlink as Google. And I mean, this is what they're going to do. This is what they're going to replace. Chainlink does not serve the same purpose as Bitcoin, and Bitcoin does not serve the same purpose as Ethereum. They all serve different purposes. The same thing with Cardano, and well, Dogecoin is basically, I mean, that was created as a joke
The
by
joke.
the creator, and
Exactly.
and they print, I think, 1 million Dogecoin a day. That's why it's only 30 cents.
Right.
And it's basically trash.
Right.
Um, so if I were to tell somebody to invest right now, of course you have to stay educated in this all the time because things change. But it would be Bitcoin. You would always need Bitcoin. And even when you make profits off other stuff, you always want to transfer that back into Bitcoin because that's the vault. Okay,
Okay.
that's the vault. Um, Bitcoin, Ethereum, Cardano, Chainlink, Polkadot, VeChain. If you did those, you're going and just stuck with those, you're going to be okay. And that's a conservative model.
Right.
Now, hey, look, I put $1,000 3 months ago in a thing called Zero Exchange, and it's at this moment it's the first thing I ever put money into that's lost money. It's now at like $90. Oops, I messed up. That's okay. It was a
Yeah.
$1,000,
Yeah.
um, but it was worth the risk. Now, there are going to be some cryptos that the next bull market are going to 100x. They're going to be at 2 cents, and then you're going to wake up one day and they're going to be $20.
Right.
And you put in $1,000, it's going to be 50 grand in your pocket. That's pretty
Right.
good. But again, as far as long term goes, as far as functionality goes, you're going to want to take that profit and put it into something that's going to be there long term, and which would be Bitcoin and Ethereum at this moment. So again, that's something people have to do. This is, you're getting to another level of what other cryptos do and what they don't do. Ethereum is a smart contract platform.
Right.
Um, so it serves a different purpose. They just now, I think a month ago today, started a burning mechanism where once Ethereum is used, the Ethereum gets burned and is gone away forever, which means is there's less Ethereum in the network, which rises the value of Ethereum.
Which makes sense if you actually think about the name Ethereum and what they talk about with Ethereum is if you spend it, they're talking about literally burning gas, burning ether.
Yes, that's exactly what it is. Yeah.
One of the great things about, say, the Coinbase app, and I don't know if any other apps do this, but Coinbase is very good at educating you about what each crypto does or what their goal is. So you can make and educate. If you look at it, you like they literally have cryptos that are this crypto is designed to network artists and their fans, and the fans can earn tokens for towards their favorite musical artists, and if you're not into that, then you can use that information to decide whether or not you want to invest in it.
Right.
That's one thing I really like about Coinbase, and I'm sure other apps do the same thing, but Coinbase is the one I'm familiar with. So.
Yeah, as far as a platform to exchange to buy crypto, I think Coinbase is the only one that really does that. There's other platforms. I use CoinGecko, which I keep my portfolio on. So it's just I could just hit the button and find out what the charts look like, how much I have in this, how much it's gone up, how much it's gone down. I can't really buy from it, but I can always do research on it.
Right.
Right. And then again, like I told you earlier, the most important thing you can do is educate yourself, is invest in your education into this market. And like I said, it's going to take, I think the guy said like 1,000 hours or 2,000 hours of search or some research and some listening to other people that know more to be able to get a full understanding of what you're investing into. Now, is it good to dollar cost average into it while you're doing that? Sure. If if you lose $100 that week, are you going to die? Are you going to starve?
I hope not. Otherwise, you probably shouldn't be throwing money at it.
Right. And so, yeah, exactly. So you're putting money into it. It's like my dad. Okay, I told my dad Thanksgiving of 2019. I sat there with my dad and my brother, and I explained what I knew about Bitcoin. And when I went to visit him at Christmas, I sat down with him. I said, "Hey, look, I know you don't fully understand this, and this is what I said. Bitcoin's at $7,200. Is $7,200 going to make or break you?" He's like, "No." "Are you going to be able to eat and survive?" He goes, "Yeah." I said, "Just trust me. I'll show you how to do it. Go on this app and buy one whole Bitcoin and just let it go. If it goes to zero, is it going to matter?" He's like, "Probably not." "Then just do it." And that's what you have to do honestly, to some people just that don't understand or want to understand it.
Yeah. You almost have to put a gun to their head and say, "Look, do this. Just do it. Just trust me on this."
Right. Now, can I do that now at 50,000? That's going to be a tall order.
Yeah.
I mean, my brother finally got in, but it was already at 38, 39,000. And I'm like, well, you could have. He didn't buy a whole Bitcoin. He's slowly built his way up. But again, it takes self-education to understand it. Once you go down that rabbit hole, you're going to be super excited about what you're going to find out, where this is going and where the potential. Like I said, Bitcoin will be seven. It's either going to be 7 digits or zero in 10 years. It ain't going to zero.
Right. No, I don't see
Ethereum
it
will
going
be $100,000 or zero. It ain't going to zero. And I heard some guy talk about, this is the opportunity of a lifetime. And I'm going to be honest with you. I'm going to say bullshit. Okay. Listen to me. This is an opportunity of a species.
Yeah.
This is it. And I don't mean to be dramatic. This will change the human race. And we're at the opportunity right now. We're still early to take advantage of that. I don't care. Like, I don't really care about mansions or Ferraris. I mean, that's great if you do. I care about freedom. I care about doing what I want, when I want, how I want to do it. And that takes money. That's my drive. And
Well,
if you know, again, a cabin in the woods is all I care about. But all I really care about is freedom. Period.
and I will tell you, part of what's gotten me excited about this is I've known you for what, 30 years, something like that.
Early '90s, yeah.
You are not somebody that's overly dramatic. You're not somebody that has wild. Hey, this is going to be the greatest thing since Betty White. You know?
Yeah,
um,
very conservative. Yeah.
you're not. That's not you. But for you to be this excited about something, and for you to put in the effort to learn everything that you have about it, tells me that, I mean, this you're a very concrete thinker. You're somebody who it's not, you're not going to fall for just, oh, this is some little fly by night thing. No, that's not you. That's not me. Um, and the fact that you're excited about it is something that compels me to not only to learn more, but it bolsters my thinking that, okay, this is the right way to go. Because first off, I've seen you succeed with it, but then also, uh, again, I know your mindset, and I'm like, if RJ is excited about this, then by God, I should get excited about it too, because you're not somebody that just gets excited over everything.
Right. Yeah. And again, it just takes listening to people who know more than you. And like I said, I can give you guys a couple guys that I listen to every morning or every day, and it's just, there's some guys out there that are bad on the internet, and you got to be careful who you listen to. Just like anything else, there's false prophets. There's false prophets in politics and religion, in the workaday world, in sports. There's false prophets everywhere. You got to be careful. But at the same time, there are people out there that are just as excited about the future and what the possibility is as I am, and I learn from those people every day.
For every Skip Bayless there is out there, there's at least a dozen Chris Collinsworth. So,
That's right.
so I know you and I talked about this earlier, but and you gave me kind of a good formula. I don't know if you want to share that with the audience or not, but what do you want to go into, what your portfolio should look like? And of course, we're not financial experts or anything like that, but you've been successful with this, to at least a marginal degree,
Right.
to an everyman degree. You're not buying gold plated yachts and stuff like that, but you've shown a pattern of success. So do you want to share kind of what you think a portfolio should look like?
Right. And again, I think no matter what, every portfolio has to have Bitcoin in it, period. And I know there's a lot of people that put down Bitcoin because it's slow and because it's grandpa. It doesn't matter. It's the most secure.
It's 12 years old. It's
Yeah.
grandpa.
Oh yeah. People are like, oh, it's boring now. I mean, it's boring. I mean, go look at gold and tell me Bitcoin's boring. It went from 29,000 last month to 50,000 now, and it's like, okay. I mean, but they're so used to some of these stupid coins going from like negative cents to 6 cents, and they make all this money, and then it drops back down again. It's like more exciting. But listen, you got to be a long-term smart investor. Okay, you got to think about, like I told you earlier while we were talking. I said put your eyes on 2025, 2026. If you're looking to flip a coin and make $1 million right now, that time is past on this cycle. You want to focus on 50% Bitcoin. I would say 35% big caps, which I call Ethereum, Chainlink, Cardano, Polkadot, Solana, maybe Solana. I don't know. But again, you have to do your research on this. I think VeChain's another one that's going to be there forever. These big solid big caps, And then you know what? You have 15% to play with. You see some little thing out there that someone's talking about, and you do your research, and they say it might 100x. Man, throw a couple bucks at it, see what happens. Okay, but if you take 100% of it and throw it at something stupid, and it goes down, I didn't lose any. I mean, I lost a little bit by putting money in the zero exchange, but you know, I didn't put 100,000 into it. I didn't put everything I owned into it. I put in what I made a gamble and it lost. That's why you need to diversify it a little bit more, be conservative, think long term, and I just call it the 50, 35, 15 rule. 50% Bitcoin, 35% strong, $100 billion market cap projects, and then 15% into smaller things like Terra or just there's a lot of things, and XRP is one of them as well. You can look at a lot of different ones, but then again, be ready to pull the plug on it too.
That's the whole thing is like you have to look at with your paycheck. When I get paid for my job, I have half my money that I know has to go towards rent and bills. Done. Then I've got 35% of it that I know, okay, that's going to be groceries, that's going to be putting gas in the car, that's going to be, putting some money away for investments, things like that. And then I've got 10 to 15% of my check that, hey, this is my play money. And if I lose it, everything else is paid for. I'm fine. If I have fun with it, yay, you're having fun with it. But the great thing about crypto is that you can have fun with it and earn more play money.
Right.
If you get in there and you buy, you buy graph at 4 cents a coin, you put $10 worth in, and then it jumps up to $2.50, and you cash out. Hey, I can put that money in Bitcoin.
Right. And to be honest with you, I missed the graph. The graph is something that's potentially be a long-term play as well. That's something I've invested in as well. But again, it's your own research. It's just like stocks. Some people are more aggressive, some people are more conservative, and how you want to play them. But you still need to be in Bitcoin and Ethereum minimum.
Right. I think that's as solid as advice as you could possibly give. That's the two that I hear the most about, and in the little bit of research I've done, those are the two that obviously Bitcoin's stable. Ethereum's the other one that's like super, super, super stable, that I don't see it ever really dropping down tremendously in value or anything like that. Solana, I think, or Solara, I can't remember how to pronounce the name, but it's kind of the same. It's getting to be the same, and that's what I have a lot of. Just because it's been a high performer for me. So with dollar cost averaging, if folks don't understand what dollar cost averaging is, I know from being with stocks and stuff, all it means is if you buy something and it goes down, you don't sell, you buy more of it because it's gone down, and it averages out your costs, and you end up making, you're not losing as much money, and you potentially are making more. So I keep buying Sol. I just call it Sol. I keep buying that, and it keeps going up. And yeah, there's probably dollar cost averaging, probably not the best thing for me. I should probably wait for it to dip down to buy more, but it keeps going up. Why not keep throwing money at it? So
right. So yeah, it's hard. You want to buy the dips, and you're gonna make more money in a bear market. You'll make your money in a bull market, but you'll become ultra wealthy in a bear market, because listen, at some point in the next year or two, crypto's going to go down. People aren't going to talk about it anymore. It's going to be kind of, Bitcoin could go to 100,000 back down to 30, and it might sit there a while, and people are going to be down on it. That's when big institutions, and that's when smart money gets into it and starts buying it. That's when you're going to become wealthy, because once the next bull market comes and it starts at $30,000 and it gets to $600,000 in the next bull market and you just bought more of it, and then people, the majority of investors buy at the top and sell at the bottom. That's why they're broke. They get in this hype. So you're going to see it. There's going to be a lot of hype towards the end of the year. It's going to get to $60, $70, $80,000, and then you're going to see people talk about it and put money into it, and that's when the smart money is going to stop. Okay, stop putting money into it, and then when it dips, they bought it at 80, it goes to 100, and then all of a sudden it starts dipping down, and it goes to 80 to 60,000. They're going to sell at 60,000. They're going to lose their money. That's the dumb way of it. You always, I think Warren Buffett or somebody said that when there's blood in the streets, you buy. When people are buying, you sell. When people are selling, you buy. It's just that simple.
And that's where you and I, both being natural contrarians, that's where it benefits us. Is we see the trends, and you and I tend to go the opposite direction
Right.
of the trend.
Right.
And that's where it definitely helps. I know that the thing that is exciting to me is that, and it's not exciting, it's kind of dumb, but you can see the start of the media down talking crypto. So you're seeing the very beginnings of that dip that you're talking about. And the reason I say that's exciting is because that creates a huge buying opportunity. Because the whole reason that they're down talking it is the banks are against crypto because they see their power going away until they figure out a way to utilize it.
There are banks. There are banks that are buying now. They do see it. It's like nobody wants to be blockbustered. Okay, exactly. So a lot of these banks are being like, yeah, we need to start diversifying into that, and that's when it starts growing. When big institutions are like, when Visa starts buying crypto, MasterCard's got to be like, well, we better start doing something.
Absolutely. Is there anything that you would say to avoid? I know, again, and I'm kind of speaking out of turn here because you're on this episode. You're the expert, with this. I would always avoid on Coinbase. They have where you can buy digital dollars from the U.S. government. I would never buy a digital dollar. I don't care who it was, because they have literally said it's just a dollar. It's a dollar in digital format, and it has no intrinsic value. They can print out as many as they want.
Right.
Is there anything that you would?
Yeah, that's a great question, and it's again another level. You're talking about a stable coin, and probably the one you're talking about is USDC. Now that is not a coin that's run by the government. It's what I call a stable coin. There is a purpose for stable coins. You can what a lot of traders do is when they see like one of their coins like go up, they'll transfer it, instead of transfer it into their bank, they'll transfer it into a stable coin on the exchange, and then when it drops, they'll transfer from the stable coin back into that crypto. Okay, so stable coins even though it's a dollar, it's just 1-to-1 to the dollar. It doesn't mean the government owns it. So my goal, and this is pretty deep. I want to get you. I'll tell you the figures offline, but I want to put some money into USDC in several exchanges, and where you can get anywhere from 8% off of that.
Really?
So yeah. So if and then you still have that money. So when it does drop, you just transfer it back into Bitcoin. You just transfer it back into Ethereum. You don't put it back into your bank account and then put it back on the exchange. You leave it there on the exchange and then just move it back and forth.
Interesting.
So, okay. So that's what a stable coin is made to do. But back in the day, when you wanted to trade, oh God, I couldn't even imagine what that would do. You would have to sell your Bitcoin, get the money, put it in your bank account, and then when you want to buy opportunity, you take it from your bank account back into the exchange. I mean, that could take days
Yeah.
to do that. This is what stable coins are meant to do.
Okay. So it's not as much of a cryptocurrency as it is just a tool.
Yes.
Okay,
Think of it as
that
a
makes
tool that's now you can like you said, you can leave it there. It's still money. Now,
yeah.
I would put it into a stable coin and then get the 8% and then take that 8% that I make every month and then transfer that into my bank. But
Yeah.
I'd still have that money there. And then
Right.
when it starts dipping, start dollar cost averaging from the stable coin instead of my bank account.
Interesting. Okay.
So if you sell high and you put it in the stable coins, and once it drops, you can take that stable coin that you made money from, put it when it drops down low, and then now you have more of what you had. So
Okay.
it's like my goal is to have 5 times the amount of Bitcoin that I have now on the next bull run without taking any money out of my pocket.
Right. Right. Okay. That no, that see now that clears up because what was confusing me was I'd actually seen reports and heard reports about the federal government creating a digital currency,
That will
and
happen. Yes.
right, and that's what I thought that was.
Yeah.
So, and I again, once the federal government creates a digital currency, I wouldn't want to have anything to do with it because
No.
it's going to be the same problem we have with our
It's the
fiat.
same trash as it is now. You're exactly right. No matter
Yes.
what country does it, it's the same trash. It's just digital.
Okay.
And it makes it worse because the government can take it away from you immediately.
Well, that's
They
that's the
can't they can't take your cash buried in the backyard. They don't know where it is. But if
and
it's a digital dollar, you're gone. See ya.
that's where crypto really got started was the people that created it did not first off they wanted to be able to make to make purchases on the dark web for whatever originally I think it was a lot of it was drugs and things like that that people want,
Yes, exactly.
but they wanted it to not be trackable by the government, and
Yep.
then it became more of a respectable thing to where people were paying for regular goods and services with this digital currency that they had on the dark web. And the whole reason is because the government can't touch it, the government can't control it, the government can't go in and seize it. They can't seize it as an asset like they can your bank account because it's not involved with any banks. So that to me is a huge advantage, and that's also why you have a lot of the media and a lot of the governments that are really talking down crypto because they don't want people to have that level of freedom. Now, once they realize that they can't control it, which is going to happen pretty quickly,
Right.
then they're going to have to do. That's why the federal government's talking about creating a digital dollar. They're going to have to either buy into it, where you have countries that are going to have Bitcoin as essentially their basis of currency, or they're going to create their own digital currency, but they're not going to pay attention to the rules because it's government, and they're generally populated by morons. So,
Yeah.
um,
And it's
they're
going to be at some point there's going to like okay, El Salvador was the first country to adopt Bitcoin. At some point it's going to be another country, and then at some point it's going to be a decent sized country, maybe like Japan or Germany. And once that starts happening, you know, these these countries don't want to be left behind.
yeah,
Eventually, they're going to have to be like, okay, we need to get into this before, like, before their enemy gets into it. It's a snowball, Jack. It is a snowball.
yeah,
Bitcoin right now is a $1 trillion asset. 1 trillion. Gold is 10. They don't even. Bitcoin still doesn't even have the market cap of gold. Okay, that's how small it is and early it is.
right.
Okay, there's I think I heard $90 trillion in bank accounts right now. There's there's so much money out there. I can't remember the amount, but it's such a small dot on the world stage that
Hmm.
people just don't, they see what it was. They see, oh, it was $10, now it's 50,000. They don't say that it's only $1 trillion market cap, and even if it's just reached gold, you're looking at a $500,000 Bitcoin.
Right, exactly. And I honestly think, and I think you might have mentioned this earlier, I think Bitcoin is, I don't know if it's going to max out, but I can see it be $1 million of Bitcoin. Period. This is a nice round number, $1 million of Bitcoin. You know, and
It will get there. It will get there. It might be. I mean, it might be 5 years from now. It might be 10 years from now. Eventually, it will get there.
but from an investment standpoint, that's nothing. That's a tick on the clock. That's nothing. I mean, if you invest in the traditional stock market and you buy IBM at $30 a share, you're going to have to wait 30, 25, 30 years before that's up to $200 a share.
Right.
And then it's a solid, and I'm not saying that's a bad,
And that's a good deal. Oh yeah.
that's incredible invest. When I first opened up my portfolio, I was showing my wife. I said, I'm getting a 22% return on investment every day on my portfolio. I said 22% is, in a regular investment, is a great month, and it's an incredible year. To have that in a day is just ridiculous. So and I was literally just shooting blind. I was like, okay, let's try this one now. Let's try this, and I just was getting lucky. That's obviously not the way to invest, but that's the beauty of the market right now, is that there is such a tremendous growth potential in it that it's almost scary to get invested in it, because there is such a tremendous potential
Right.
in it.
And like you said, well, it's not a good way to invest. I kind of disagree. You're putting your toe into the water, and
Mhm.
once you're invested into something, it forces you to learn about it. Okay, you go to Walmart and you buy a set of clubs, everything included, a bag, clubs, driver. They'll throw you a set of balls, tees. You put $250 into it, right?
Mhm.
It's some shitty clubs.
It's
But you go out and play, but you're out and playing, and you're like, okay, these are mine. I'm
Mhm.
playing golf. I like to play golf. I want to get better. So now you're thinking about, okay, well maybe these irons aren't good, and you start investing more, and you start uh, doing some research on what the best clubs are. You're trying different stuff out. It's a growing process. People put down Dogecoin, and I get it. It's pretty crappy, but it's getting people into the market. It's
Yeah.
making them understand, because now they're invested into it. I have a friend, Tony. He's the same way. He's like, oh, I got this Dogecoin and it went up and he sold it. I'm like, well, that's great, but and he's asking me questions kind of like you are, and now he's pretty astute about it. But it took him just putting some money into something, and even if it's a mistake or even if it's bad, you're still invested into something, so it forces you to learn more.
Yeah, and I know Tony too, and the fact that you could, you know talk to him and get him to see common sense, that's pretty impressive.
No, it takes a lot.
He's
That
a
takes
good
a
guy.
lot.
He's a good guy. So
What
cool.
other questions? Anything else?
Oh, dude, you've given us so much information. You've absolutely, my head's literally numb.
Right. No, no, it's a lot. Like I said, it's just a lot, and I got over 2 years of listening and researching and investing and just doing all this stuff, and again, I still don't know it all. I mean, there's NFTs we haven't even got into.
Uh,
There's
and
a lot.
I can't wrap my head around NFTs at all.
Yeah.
That's going to have
Well,
to be another show, because I do want to understand them, because I think that's another thing that's the wave of the future. But
right.
I just, it's one of those market things that I'm like, I don't understand how this can be worth what it's worth, but it obviously is. So
Yeah.
again, it's the first thing you have to understand is that putting value on anything, it's a societal and cultural agreement. If we all agree that if we all agree that this bottle cap is worth $100,000, then this bottle cap's worth $100,000. I don't care what is, because people use shells and rocks and stuff like that for currency.
Right.
It is what society says it is. So if you see something that you don't understand and you say, well, that can't be real because I don't understand it, that's a silly way to look at the world. And that's honestly that's where I was a year ago. That's me admitting that I was kind of being a moron when it comes to that, and I don't like admitting that I'm a moron on anything.
It just takes like I heard somebody say 7 or 8 times for somebody to hear something before they're like, okay, what's going on?
Right.
Like,
So
I need to figure this out.
yeah. So let's close it out with some recommendations. You mentioned some YouTubers and maybe some podcasts that folks would want to listen to, because that's where I'm going to go, because I work in an environment where I could sit there and I can't listen to podcasts all day, but while I'm doing paperwork and stuff like that, I can definitely turn on a podcast or turn on YouTube and listen to it while I'm doing my work, so I'm getting that knowledge in as fast as I can.
Right.
And I've got a ways to go before I catch up with you, but I want to get there. So what are some, say, the top 3 to 5 that you would recommend people listen to? So we give them some choices, because not everybody's going to relate to Joe Smith's podcast, but they might relate to Bob Jones's podcast.
Exactly. And that's just like in anything. People gravitate to one person or another because it's their personality or whatever, or and I get that. So the first one I like, and I think I mentioned it earlier, is called The Modern Investor. Now, he is kind of quirky and he's kind of straightforward, so a lot of people might take it as be off on him, but he's more of a like I said, every time I wake up, he has a new video. They last probably about 20 to 25 minutes, so it's not all day. He
Yeah.
gets you the news, he tells you what he thinks, and he's done with it. So check out The Modern Investor. He also goes as TMI, and so he's in the morning. I mean, there's a lot of guys. So there's a guy named Crypto Jeb. Okay. Now, if you're a young person and you're in your teen, he's 20 years old. If you're in your teens, in your 20s or early 20s, you're going to really relate to somebody like him. I like him. I like his message. He's a good guy. I like his long-term vision. He's super smart, but at times he gets kind of 20-ish, and you're kind of like, all right, get on with it type thing. But if you're a young person, check out Crypto Jeb. He also comes on in the mornings. He does a live show on YouTube about 9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. One of the check out Crypto Lark, otherwise known as Lark Davis. This guy's been in crypto for 6-7 years. Now that's a long time. That's not a newbie. Remember, Bitcoin's 12 years old. So anybody's been around if you've been around through a bull market, a bear market, and this bull market, you're an expert. I don't care what. So this guy has. So look up Lark Davis, or the Crypto Lark.
Okay.
Oh, I'm missing somebody. There's some of them that come and gone, which is kind of weird. The biggest one right now is called BitBoy Crypto. He's got over 1 million subscribers. He's the first guy over 1 million. Now, I really like him. A lot of people get turned off by him. He does a live show at 11:30 Eastern Standard Time. He also puts out videos during the day. He also does a show. Have you ever watched that ESPN show where there's 4 different reporters and they're kind of, God, what's the name of that show?
It's the sports reporters.
Well, no, but it's at 5 o'clock and it's Around the Horn.
Oh yeah,
Around the Horn is what it's called.
Yep.
So he has a crypto show just like that, and he gets different crypto guys, and they have Around the Horn, and there's a moderator, and they ask questions. It's a pretty interesting. He's a pretty interesting guy. So check out BitBoy Crypto, and let's see, if I were to give another one, I know I'm missing one that I always listen to, but I can't remember. But if you stick with the Modern Investor,
Mm-hmm.
Crypto Jeb, Crypto Jeb's very analytic too, so that might put you to sleep.
Right.
The Crypto Lark Davis, BitBoy Crypto. You listen to those things. I did forget one. Cryptos Are Us. His
Oh
name is
yeah.
George. Now,
Mm-hmm.
I would recommend you, honestly, to listen to Cryptos Are Us first.
Okay.
He comes on he does a live show right around 11:30 or noon Eastern Standard Time,
Mm-hmm.
and he's very very good. I didn't like him at first, but he's very knowledgeable in what he's talked now. So these are the guys I listen to every day. Now, not all of them agree on everything,
Right.
which is fine. You don't want to be in a bubble. You don't want to be in just this little echo chamber. You want to
Yeah.
learn from different people. So if you listen to these guys, you know, pick one or two of them that you like. You might not like all of them,
Mm-hmm.
but I would say out of all of them, do Cryptos Are Us and The Modern Investor. Those two are basically an everyday thing for me.
Right. And then a lot of times when you watch those videos, they're going to give you recommendations for other people, right?
Yeah, no, yeah, they definitely will. And there's other guys I listen to, but they're more technical analysis guys and
Mhm.
short-term traders.
Right.
And it's interesting, but I think as a beginner, if you're not into crypto that much, you probably want to stay away from that right now. That can get you super hyped up and super down at the same time because they're very short term. Like they'll bring a video like this is the worst day ever, and their face is like like thumbnails, and like and you look at it, oh shit, we're all gonna die. And then, but they're thinking the next 24 hours. When people like George and the Modern Investor and Crypto Lark and BitBoy Crypto, they're thinking long term. They're
Right.
thinking about your financial wealth and freedom.
Right.
And just like George is big in dollar cost averaging. Just he's even showing people what to do. He puts in 100. Now he has more than this, but he's just showing like, hey, it's Friday. I'm putting in $100. Let me show you what I'm going to buy. And then he shows you his portfolio every week, and it's going up. So check out those guys, and like make a habit out of it.
Yeah. And we'll put the links to their YouTube channels on in our show notes so that
Okay.
folks can easily access those because I know the biggest thing is find somebody that you can relate to, and that's and that goes with everything. If you're wanting to learn about politics, you're wanting to learn about international sport. If you wanted to learn about soccer, the biggest thing is not necessarily to find somebody who's the most knowledgeable person, but find somebody you can relate to. That because you're going to actually get more out of that show because it's somebody that you can listen to and you're actually going to pay attention to what they're saying, as opposed to somebody just spitting out numbers and you're like, okay, this is the most boring thing in the world, but this guy's a genius. It's
Yeah. And there's several guys like that that's on my podcast that I'll listen to them and they put out some good stuff, but some of it's over my head.
like,
I mentioned Andreas Antonopoulos. I don't think I've watched a video of his in 10 years, 10 months because he talks about stuff that it's like, okay. Um, I would say one more show that's new, but he's been in crypto for years. It's Anthony Pompliano.
okay,
He just started a show probably a couple months ago with his brothers. It's called the Best Damn Business Show,
mm-hmm,
period, or something like that. This guy knows what he's talking about. He's very, very knowledgeable, and people come to. I think he was on Joe Rogan, if I'm not mistaken. He's that big in the crypto space.
mm-hmm,
Um, but again, and he not only does he talk about cryptos and Bitcoin, but he'll talk about other things like the housing market and other things like the stock market just to think about. But 90% crypto.
Okay. Well, that's good though, because that tells me that he's not laser focused into one area. He actually understands macroeconomics. He understands
Yes.
the entire scope of everything, as opposed to this one little segment. I mean, it's nice to have somebody that's laser focused as an expert. You want to listen to them, obviously, but it's from a enjoyment of a show. It's nice to also have other things that you delve into, rather than, it's like with us. We're essentially politics, but we talk a lot of sports and stuff like that too. So, you know, I think that adds to the show. That's
Yeah.
just.
So, I mean, like I said, the best thing you can do as a new person is to educate yourself
Mm.
as much as possible. And we live in an era where you can just go on YouTube and find out anything you want. Now that can be good or bad.
Yep.
You want to find out, those just start off with those, and you might gravitate to a couple other people. But educating yourself is the most important thing you can do. It's beyond anything, beyond putting money into crypto blindly. Now that's great. Like, does my dad understand crypto and Bitcoin a little bit, but not really? I mean, he's just like, I told him, I said, buy Ethereum, buy Bitcoin, buy Cardano, and he
Yep.
and he has. Now, does he know the differences? Probably not,
No.
but it's there.
And hey, it's awesome that your dad is actually listening to you on this. I mean, that to me, that's the beautiful thing, because I know your dad. I love your dad. I respect your dad. He's a really smart guy. He's a great guy. Um, and the fact that he could say, okay, my son is coming to me with this, and I'm going to actually listen to what he says, and then I'm just going to trust him. That says a lot for how much faith he has in you. So.
Well, yeah, I mean that's true, but also he can see as you can see now, my enthusiasm.
Yeah.
And it's easy to talk about something you're excited about. I'll talk about sports all day long, or politics or presidents, because I'm excited about it.
Yeah.
um, so if you're like, maybe kind of like, it's like asking out a girl. You don't go up to her and go like, well, I mean, I kind of like you. If you sort of want to kind of maybe go get some coffee early, next week, maybe sort of, she's gonna be like, no, I don't. You go like say, hey, let's go grab a drink. They're
Hey,
most likely gonna say yes.
oh, I know what you're going to be doing tomorrow night.
Well, yeah, you can be that aggressive if you want, but it's the same thing. Like if I went up to my dad and said, well, I don't know, this is kind of cool. I don't really know. I mean, it could. Yeah, he would have never got it. He would have never listened.
No, no. So cool. Well, hey man, I appreciate all the information. I know anybody listening to this show or watching this show, despite the fact that they've been looking at, that you look like you're witness protection.
I know. I only see a black screen. I don't even see anything, and I'm almost disappointed. I wish we would do this during the daytime, but it is
Yeah.
what it is. If it comes out great, then that's fine. If not, we can do it again. Who knows?
And the great thing about, our podcasts and a lot of other ones that I listen to, uh, even if they're on video, it's great to just listen to them. You should be able to convey the information without having to see who's
Right.
talking. So, and this is proof of that.
That's right.
Well, hey man, I appreciate it. I'm going to go ahead and close this out, guys. If you enjoyed this show, be sure to like us, subscribe to us. That little button down at the bottom, give us a big old thumbs up. If you got comments, if you got questions for RJ, if you got questions for me, where do I get these nice glasses from, and how cool is my Spider-Man picture in the back?
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
If you got, comment to us, and follow us on Facebook too. We're Red Pill History on Facebook, and that's about it. Every time you guys interact with us, that helps us bump up in the algorithm. So we appreciate you guys paying attention to us. Um, for RJ Dufresne, I am Jack Rizzo. Thanks, guys, and we will catch you later.